So Shaquille O'Neal thinks there should be an asterisk attached to whichever team wins the NBA championship this year, if we are all fortunate enough to see one, and as a result thinks we should just scrap the season. Lots of people seem to agree with that. To those people, I ask the following questions. How many titles did Tim Duncan win in his NBA career? How about Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard? You know the answers because these numbers are ingrained in our brains. Duncan won 5. Not 4 because the first one came in 1999 in a 50-game season. He won 5. LeBron won 3. Not 2 because Draymond Green got suspended in the finals and allowed the Cavaliers a comeback that otherwise seemed impossible. He's got 3 rings. Kawhi won 2. Not just 1 because KD and Klay Thompson got hurt last year during the finals. He's a 2-time champion. History is written by the winners, and those include Michael Jordan. Overlooked in all the talk of MJ's 6 titles is the spring of '97. When the Bulls' path through the East was forever changed by 5 Knicks, including Patrick Ewing, getting suspended for coming on the court during a fight in a series they surely would otherwise have won against Miami. The Knicks would have been a real threat to Jordan that year. Instead, Chicago took out the Heat in 5 easy games. Miami didn't score 90 points in any of them. No one talks about that anymore. Just as they won't 20 years from now if LeBron wins a title this summer. It will be his 4th. No more, no less. And further, I would argue that considering all that's happened, a championship this year might mean more than any other, not less. So I say let's forget about the talk of an asterisk, and if we can, let's play some ball. That's what I think. Let me bring in 2 of my favorites to see what they think. Stephen A. and Jalen are here. Steve, the floor is yours. What do you think?
Completely agree with you, Greeny. I mean, that's how you look at it. And even though there's an asterisk attached to the season, I think we got to take into account the totality of this moment, what sports means to this nation. There's not a single one of us, not me, not you, not Jalen, nor anyone that is saying just shove aside the issue of safety. But we do have to ask ourselves how important is sports to our society. Think about from a psychological perspective how it uplifts us all. And more importantly than anything else, this is something that I've religiously brought up on First Take. As far as I can recall, nobody can give us a definitive date or time as to when a vaccine is going to be available. So the same thing that they'll be saying a month from now, 2 months from now, 3 months from now, they could potentially be saying a year from now. Are we supposed to go the next 6 months, a year, 18 months without working, without having sports, without taking into account the hundreds of thousands of people that are employed by professional sports? I would say no. So you prioritize safety. You take every caution potentially possible. You address it from that standpoint, and then you alert people as to the potential risks that may exist at that particular moment in time that sports will return, and you go from there because that's exactly what we'll be asking the average Joe out there going to work in corporate America or beyond each and every single day moving forward once this economy opens up, whether it's in phases or in its totality. That's the reality of the situation. That's what I'm dealing with.
Yeah, and Jalen, how about the idea of the asterisk? How about the notion that because of the unusual circumstances of the season, which were beyond anyone's control, that the championship would somehow be less significant?
Well, an asterisk doesn't necessarily mean it has a negative connotation. And I think in this situation, it'll have a positive one because everybody understands that we're dealing with a pandemic in our country. And I like the examples that you highlighted because you could go deeper into that when we start talking about franchises and their overall championships. What about before integration in Major League Baseball, the NFL, and the NBA? Are we still counting those championships? To me, the negative side of this is what you look at when you look at what happened with the Houston Astros or the Boston Red Sox. Those negative asterisks carry a bad influence for the future. I think for the NBA to be back playing would be a positive thing. It would be an uplifting thing, as Stephen A. said. And I do believe that there's going to be a path for that to happen. But look, lastly, Greeny, no further than the Houston Rockets. I remember being in the league when they won their first couple of championships, and it was like, well, would they really have won had Michael Jordan not played baseball one year? The second year, he only played 17 games. The three-point line was a lot shorter. Now when we look back at history, it's like Hakeem Olajuwon is an all-time great player who won back-to-back championships. We don't put an asterisk on it.
Now, Stephen, I do want to change the question a little bit because you probably have the most significant voice in the sports debate world today. You know, I believe, or at least I suspect, that if LeBron does win the championship this year, there will be people, because of the nature of him, that will try to diminish the championship, that will try to say, well, it shouldn't count, you know, in the history the way others do because of this. What will you say if we're sitting here on August 30th and LeBron has just won his 4th championship and people try to suggest it's not as important?
Well, I would say congratulations to LeBron James, and I would tell all of his critics to kick rocks. That's what I would do, and here's the reason why. Last time I checked, professionalism doesn't just involve or entail your performance on the court in terms of your individual heroics. What about conditioning? What about keeping yourself focused and in shape? Think about the kind of things that Jalen and others, along with myself, have been talking about over the last few weeks. Who's keeping yourself in shape? Who's keeping yourself mentally, emotionally, and physically prepared for the challenge? Last time I checked, when the NBA announced that the season would be suspended, the operative word was suspended, not terminated, not canceled. It was suspended with the possibility that you was still paid about 75% of your salary. There is no excuse on God's green earth for a professional athlete knowing that the specter of a season, continuing and going forward as a possibility should have any excuse whatsoever to not be prepared to play. So whoever that champion is going to be, it's not going to be just because of their skill set. It's going to be because of their focus and determination and discipline that is supposed to come with being a professional athlete to make sure that you prepare yourself for the challenge of coming back and being ready to ball. Those who took care of themselves and prioritized that will be ready. Those who don't will get exposed. Last time I checked, that's a good reason to crown a champion as well.